Hello， 大家好，感谢关注江江 Victoria。在这里，如果你对中文感兴趣，想了解中国文化，又想知道在中国的日常生活是什么样子的话，那么请跟我一起学习中文，了解中国文化吧。
Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Victoria. Last time we have talked about classical Chinese poetry. It plays an important role of Chinese culture from the beginning of the ancient world songs and ballads to the peak time of Tang poetry and Song Ci. The Chinese poetry is really worthy to be read. Today, let's learn about the Tang poetry and Song Ci. Let's see it. Tang poetry refers to the poetry written during the Tang Dynasty, when the feudal society of China met its unprecedented prosperity. Large numbers of poets emerged, and the two most celebrated among them are Li Bai and Du Fu, who are hard to surpass and impossible to surpass. Li Bai, the representative of the Romantic poetry, with his rich imagination, spectacular style, and smooth language, was spoken of as the poet immortal, 诗仙, by Chinese people of later generation. Du Fu, the representative of the realistic poetry, a keen observer of political and social scene, wrote with succinct language and a very high artistic skill. He was referred to as a poet sage, 诗圣. According to the period of the Tang Dynasty's development, the Tang poetry can be divided into 4 periods, namely the early Tang period, the high Tang period, the mid Tang period, and the late Tang period. In the early Tang period, poems began to develop the foundation, which is now considered to be the poetry with Tang style, and reached its acme in the High Tang period. In terms of formation, Tang poetry inherited the archaic style of the Han and the Wei folk songs and Yue Fu poems, but also developed the modern style of the poetry. In the last video, we have introduced the archaic style of the poetry and the modern style of the poetry. The Tang Dynasty is an important period to separate them. Archaic poetry of Tang Dynasty is mainly the pentasyllabic and the heptasyllabic. The modern style of poetry in Tang Dynasty is composed of 2 forms, 律诗, regulated verses, and the 绝句, the quatrains. Regulated verses are subdivided into the pentasyllabic verses and the heptasyllabic verses, while the quatrains are subdivided into the pentasyllabic quatrains and the heptasyllabic quatrains. The modern style of the Tang poetry is rigorously the metrical. Tang poetry can be categorized into several schools, including landscape pastoral poetry, frontier fortress poems, romantic poetry, and realistic poetry, and so on. Tang poetry is one of the most important cultural heritage of China and the essence of the traditional Chinese culture. And now let's learn about the Song Ci, one of the forms of the modern poetry, as opposed to the archaic poetry, which originated in the Sui dynasty, popularized in the Tang dynasty, and reached its summit in the Song dynasty. Hence the name of Song Ci. As the lines of the line differs, Ci is also called the long and short line verses, 长短句. Ci, depending upon its length, can be divided into 小令, short verses of less than 58 characters, 中调, middle length verses of 59 to 90 Chinese characters, and 长调, long verses of more than 91 Chinese characters. Ci is written to the certain tunes and is akin to the lyric created for musical accompaniment, as the matter varies in the way that the words have to match the rhythm of the music. There are various tonal patterns. The tonal patterns of 词 is called 词牌, such as the beautiful lady Yu, Yu 美人, and the river all red, 满江红, which decided the tunes, rhyme, and the syntactical structure of the poem, yet may have a loose connection of its content. In terms of the styles, 词 can be either 婉约 the graceful and the mild school, 婉约派, or 豪放 the bold and the unconstrained school, 豪放派. The 婉约 school endows delicate scenes with exquisite feelings and implicate elegance. Li Qingzhao was an outstanding poetess of the 婉约 school. Her works are exquisite, refined, and full of true feelings. The Haofang styles features the imposing styles and the attitude of the heroic abandon, of which Su Shi and Xin Qiji are representatives. Their works are unrestrained, refreshing, and smooth. Su Shi's works are blazed a new trail for the involvement of the 词 poetry. Under the influence of the great writer Su Shi, Song Ci began to free itself from the musical background and became primarily of literary creation. Song Ci holds an important position in the history of Chinese literature. So, the following is a Mandarin time. Let's learn some Mandarin of Tang poetry and Song Ci. The following is Mandarin time. Let's learn Mandarin together. Number 1. 唐诗唐诗唐诗 Today's topic of our video is about the Tang poetry. So how to speak Tang poetry in Chinese? 唐诗 Once again, 唐诗 Number 2. 李白李白李白李白Li Bai is one of the most famous Chinese poets in the Tang Dynasty. Number 3. 杜甫杜甫杜甫杜甫 Li Bai and Du Fu are two representative poets in Tang Dynasty. Number 4. 诗仙诗仙诗仙 It means the poet immortal. Li Bai was called the poet immortal by the later generations. 诗仙 Next one. 诗圣诗圣诗圣 It means the poet sage. 诗圣 Du Fu was referred to as a poet sage. 诗圣 Number 6. 宋词宋词词 is one of the forms of modern poetry, as opposed to the archaic poetry. 宋词 and 词 reached its summit in the Song Dynasty. Next one. 长短 句，长短句，长短句。词 is also called long and short line verses. 长短句。Last one. 词牌，词牌，词牌。The tonal pattern of 词 is called 词牌，词牌。Welcome back. Now, Song Ci and Tang poetry are regarded as the two pearls of the Chinese literature. I think if you want to learn a certain language, you should know its background and culture first, and have the systematic language learning at the same time. As for Chinese, if we see a foreigner who can speak Chinese fluently, we will feel, wow, he or she is so cool. So come with me to learn Chinese together. Today's video is coming to an end. In today's video, we have introduced the Tang poetry and the Song Ci. Have you got it? So see you next time. Bye bye.